Okay, so we're back, and this is before the normal map was started. You can see now, it looks a bit different. I cut off one side, that was that red side, so I was already planning on doing that. And I also cut off half of this sword, so I only have to bake one side of that. Do I have to do that? No, I can, as a matter of fact, looking at this UV sheet, I know I'm gonna have a ton of space in here. Um, why don't I bake both sides? It's kind of a waste to not do that. So I'm gonna do that with this one. So going into this here, I know that my UVs for my blade are gonna be pretty easy. So this blade right here, I'm gonna turn off my grid because you guys don't do that. I'm gonna take very simple procedure to create the blade by just going to UVs, and I'm gonna go into automatic. By doing that and going to my UV editor now, I have the blade, and it goes all the way to the edge here. It is all the way down there. That's looking pretty good. Let's look at our the checkers are saying on this thing. Make sure it's not stretching out. Now, right now, those textures are really big. So let's scale this up even more. I'll always undo that once I see what's going on. I think that that's going to work pretty well. Now, if I needed to, I could take this and then go into UVs, unfold, tell this thing to optimize, and it kind of relaxed the blade out a little bit more. What it ended up doing though is it also made this so it's no longer completely straight up and down. Unfolding, it'll also kind of do that same thing. So it's just kind of relaxing some of these edges. Since I don't like how this is handling that right here, I'm gonna go ahead and just scale that up more. Give myself a little bit more texture space. And let's just look, not a huge amount of space in between there, but I think that I should be able to get some work. That should be. Also making sure that my model's clean as I work. Right now what I'm seeing, got some issues that I am not a huge fan of on the bottom of this. If I look at the edge of this, there's a problem right here. So this is why it's super important to make sure that you're UV unwrapping things and cleaning stuff up so it's not a total piece of garbage when texturing. Don't you end up suffering with getting to a point where you made a really kick-ass model and then all of a sudden you're realizing, oh man, I can't, I screwed up royally on this thing, and I got to go back now, fix a model, and now the UVs have to, all that stuff. Going through and making sure that that's not going to happen. And while I'm doing that, I'm also making sure this material may not be helping me. So I'm going to go and create a new material that is a blend, so it's shiny. I'm going to add that to this guy right here, so I can try to hopefully catch any facets. And I'm seeing some facets right here, and some other areas. So I'm actually going to double click and hold down Shift. What I'm doing is selecting anywhere on my model that are facets that I don't want to. Now, I know I put that in there. I want definition, but it's actually, when I bake my normal map, I don't even need that. Normal map's going to do that for me. So what I'm going to take now is go to Mesh Display, soften my edge. Now it's going to look super soft. That's good. That's what it should look like. So I like it. Now that I have that, close this, zoom in out here, and I'm going to duplicate this model, and I'm going to give it a little flip here on my Y, so 180 it. Now I have a front and a back. So I'm not going to merge it yet. What I'm going to do is go to my UV shell, have that selected, and move it over. Then select my other object, make sure both are selected now. And now I have the blade front and back right next to each other. They are ready to go for this model. So getting them close, but not all the way too close. I don't want any interference on bleeding, which we're going to talk about later. So this is good. And let's go to this piece. So in that first video I showed you, there was issue in my texture as I went outwards in Sketchfab. I think I still have that open right here. So this is going all wonky. No longer maintaining a hard edge on that. So again, a way to be able to fix that, I go into my Edit Mesh Insert Edge Loop tool. Or maybe it's Mesh Tools Insert Edge Loop. I want to change this to maybe like a 2. Yeah, we'll do that. And I'm just going to press right here. Okay. And that's just going to give me a little bit of extra space. Here's a secret though. I don't actually need to do this step of giving more definition to it until I'm actually happy with what the low poly looks like. So I'm going to hold off on putting any more detail on this, because once I've unwrapped this to a way I want it to, then I'll go through and clean that up a little bit. So I need to make this thing make sense. I'm gonna go to my UVs, UV editor, and I've got it unwrapped already, but it's not anything that it's good to look at yet. And I don't have the back of this. So I need to figure out how the best method of unwrapping this be. How I'm going to decide to do this is sort of like a cylinder unwrap, except that it's going to be just pieces connected. And so to do that, what I'm going to end up doing is going to my vertex mode, or my UVs, grab all of these, squeeze that up. Now I know this isn't properly unwrapping it. It's going to have distortion on it, but it's going to allow for me to connect faces that are in need of being similar, so that way I have less seams to do. So again, I know that that's distorting that there. I don't care. The shell pulled up now. So I know that's my top. I have a front, I have a back. The back I don't care about either, because I'm going to flip that over to the side once I'm done with working the piece. So as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and grab that whole back area and hit. So I don't even need to worry about this. Only got the parts that I know need to be pristine and on their own to do. So when I have that, I can now go with this piece, UV, and I'm going to use my transform, and I'm going to move. Be up here. I missed. My align and snap is down here. I'm going to go and press this button. Move all these lower ones to there. Make sure all these ones snap to the middle. And we're basically going down the line, making sure our model is lined up, because there's a reason in a second you'll see. So I'm going to take those, and I'm going to take these. I'm going to press that button this time. Okay, all of these, and I'm going to make all of those follow the furthest one to the right this time. Made it spaced out there. And for this next one right here, let's say that over more. All right. Now that I have all that, I'm going to grab all of the top ones of this shell right here, and I'm going to press the up along. And I know I'm wrecking my beautiful unwrap that I just was by using a camera or an auto. So I'm going to do this one again. Now I can actually take the, and I can use the move and sew Now they're all together. So that's a much easier way to do that. And now I can also take like this one and that one, and we can do like a meet me in the good. This is starting to become one piece. Now, I think I'm gonna have, if I look at my model, yes, there's texture distortions and all that fun stuff going on. I'm gonna pull that up a little bit more so it's this. But what's cool about this, since I made this shape, and I know looking at that shape, I want to make sure this bottom part means proper scaling here. So I'm gonna just about there, trying to get a square for this. I can now take this and those, and I'm gonna do a edit mesh extract on that. What that did is it pulled all these out of my model. So if I actually go to object mode, this is a separate object. The reason why I'm going to do that is because now I'm going to take this whole separate object, mirror it. Now the mirror is hidden over here. And so now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and make that mirror so it's going to do it on the z-axis. Get rid of merge border. Happen. But the cool part is now I have back and the front. Now, if I were to go to, let me back this up. Let me do it one more time. Turn off merge border and cut geometry. See, okay. No. All right. That's how I did that. We go to face mode, grab that area that I mirrored over, and just for the sake of how this is easier to do this, I'm going to go to my mesh tool or edit mesh, extract again. And now this is separate than this, that's separate than this. Why did I do that? Because now I can grab both of these, grab the shell or the two shells, and now take this next one, and I'm going to use a flip. So if I go into flip, the wrong one, I need to do V. It flipped it upside down. Now if I grab that shell and move this up and select these, so if I go to my objects, select this one, this one, this one, check this out. I know it sounded like a convoluted thing to get your model to have another side created for you, but notice now I can stitch these. Well, I have to combine my object first and merge my vertex. So I'm going to go to object mode, grab these, mesh combine, right click, go to that, go to select all the vertices and edit mesh, merge. And when you hit merge, make sure that none of your UVs disappear, vertices disappear. Now that I have that, let's make sure that our pieces sew. So you can do that cut and sew down here, sew that, or you could do that up here, cut and sew. So it depends on where you're going and if this thing is connected, all that fun stuff. I suppose I could go into like UV editing. That's so much easier, guys. I apologize. Okay. Hey now, I'm an all-star. All right, let's get this game on. Mash mouth. That's a thing. All right, I've got an edge here, and I've got this face here that I'm gonna have to do something with. How do I get this to work when I've got two separate faces here, and I've got another one that's kind of floating over here? Well, let's see what we can do. If I go to the shell, grab this one, and rotate over. Hey, you know what? I think I'm always gonna work with UV editing as a menu set instead of just juggling 90 different menus for you. All right, I've got these two. I need to stitch that, so let's either sew or stitch together. Either of those will work, and I'm gonna go to UV mode and drag this down. And we want it to be a square again. That's looking pretty okay. All right, so let's say that that's what I want. Now, I know got all this stuff on the bottom that's wrong. The reason why I'm going through all this stuff for you guys too, I know UVs suck. They are things that are, they make people question their existence, all that fun stuff. To me, I love them, but it's also something that I would literally throw my mouse across the room. No, I didn't, but I would want to, because of how much UVs feel like they're punching you over and over and over. It feels that way, and I get it. But I'm showing you this stuff because I'm hoping that you do watch this stuff, and it's a different situation each time you unwrap something. So while I'm doing this, I'm also thinking about, how do I do this part? How do I move around some of these things? This is an extremely low poly model, so it is extremely I guess easy in some ways for unwrapping, but in that way there is also some deception in there that we always have to think about, trying to make sure that this is for us to. I've got this bottom part, and you can see it's not unwrapped, but if I do a UV automatic, gave me an unwrap, I don't like it. It put all the pieces separately. So I'm gonna go into my top view, and I'm gonna go UVs camera based. And it gave me something that's maybe a little bit better, but there's something you need to be aware of on how this unwrapped. This is actually looking from the top down. We're actually looking at this backwards. If I look at where this edge is, it's actually on the back of the model. So it's actually up here. I need this edge to be where that edge is to be able to get this to work. So what I'm going to do is go to my shell, and again, flip it on. Was the same, that one. Okay, so I flipped it, and now those edges are where they need to be. That's better. So what I'm going to do with this now is go to my shell, drag this down to scale it out better, and move this over. And I just want to align this. It doesn't need to be 100% connected. So I'm just going to make it close to it, so I know as when I'm texturing this, this is where that's supposed to go. So what I'm going to do again is use that align tool, move this one over, this it over, whoop, that, do that, and this, and that, and hey, fun, or not. I like to think of, UVs are a lot like crocheting. Never crocheted. I picked up crocheting to teach my wife. Dating, we would watch horror movies and make monsters while we were crocheting, or we would take felt and glue them together and make like Voorhees, a felt monster, Frankenstein, Shaman. Crocheting is something that's technical, but when you're done with it, it gets you this really cool object. The problem is, you don't follow the rules, or if you don't do it right, that object looks like garbage. So it's art and technical at the same time. And hey, you know what? Lots of grandmas love to crochet. So don't tell me that, your grandma would be better at UV unwrapping, because this is basically that idea. You're following set ideas and trying to make things fit. Certain rules that you have to follow. So it's my idea. Maybe not. All right, so I've got this here. Good. I'm going to leave that one alone. Check out this thing. First thing that we notice on this, hopefully you all notice this way. This is faceted. Get the heck out of here. Let's go to Mesh Display, Soften. And right away, it softened it. Now, I remember last time, this is our second time recording this demo. Second time. Ryan had asked a question, and I made a whole series of videos, and then I went for a drive. I'm not even kidding you, and it was something echoing in the back of my head saying, "You're a failure. This is good enough." Went back, and I'm making another one for you guys. You're welcome. Here is this. I'm gonna go ahead and do mesh display harden edge, and now I have hardened edges for hold edges. The rest of this is soft. And then I also have, look at this. There's some pizza slices in here, guys. Get them the hell out of here. We don't need that. We don't need that at all. So delete that. That one, because there was pizza slices in there. And now, what we're going to do here is we're going to unwrap this. So I'm going to use a UV cylindrical. And did it unwrap everything so we can actually see it all? Probably not. Let's just double check. Let's see. We're going to turn on this thing. We're going to see where the distortion is occurring. All right, so there's a little bit of distortion going on our model, and where there's red, you can tell it's kind of pinching or it's stretching. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to grab this and pull that down until the red. Okay. And a little bit isn't a big deal. But when you get super blue or super red, you're asking for it. Don't do that. Now I do need to use as much of my model as possible for this because, or the UVs, I can't squish this down because the high res has that wrap of leather around. So I need to make sure this maintains a similar wrap or unwrap that is as square as possible. So I'm going to go to that shell, see if I squeeze that this way. All right, let's add that to the group. So hello, meet your friends. You're part of us now. One of us. Nice to give your UVs feeling of joining a cult, right? I need one of us now. Handle. So here's the handle. We'll check the texel density of this when I get this last part in here. But texel density, that refers to your resolution of the UVs on the UV sheet. So we want to make sure that we're appropriately making it so this feels uniform. But here's the secret about that: smaller little objects, it's really better to actually make it have more resolution than little tiny objects. Because, smaller objects give it more resolution than large, big, chunky objects. Because I know that there's a heart detail right here, and I know that this thing has some really cool leather wrappings. I want to make sure I grab as much resolution on that as possible. So I'm actually almost doubling the scale of that. I should actually do the same thing these. So I'm actually going to grab those and scale this up. Well, I'm going to put this one right here. And now I wanted to make this so it was only half sheet, but now that this is set up like this, I'm totally fine with it. I'm not calling you guys out if you color, because this is a weird shaped object. With this thing, holy moly, there's a lot of stuff going on here. First thing I need to do, that's a video card error. I'm gonna go ahead, take this thing, and I'm gonna go into my mesh display, soften. Cool. Now that I have that, I have to figure out how I'm going to actually deal with this thing for an unwrap. So if we look at the major shapes on the high res here, and by that I mean close, close, You can see sort of hard edges, but I'm going to use everything softened. And there's only like really one crisp spot right there. We have to figure out where we want to have an intersection. My thought is to do something like that's from another. If I were to cut this and do a cylindrical unwrap around this whole major piece, and then if I took basically all of this stuff and I did a camera based unwrap, that should work for me. Let's see if, you know, see if I'm right. See if I can stop making yellow. There we go. All right, so let's turn this one off and look at this. All right, let's see. I want basically, let's do that. I'm gonna grab all of this. So I'm gonna go here, double click, all the way around. Here, double click, click, here, double click, here, and here, double click. And I went all the way around this. Fancy. Now, what I'm gonna do with this is go to my UVs, and let's do cylindrical. And let's throw that, so it's gonna be 90 degrees. Now, I'm noticing right here, got a lot of history, so I'm definitely gonna clean that up later. The more you have and the more stuff you do, the worse Maya wants to treat you, so make sure that you're aware of that. Let me bring this over to UV mode so you guys can see that now, and let's check out what I just made. Ooh, ah. So here's this thing. I'm gonna go to edge mode now. Okay, where's that center edge? That's right there. Great, that's a good starting point. From there, I'm just gonna clean up these vertices, or these UVs, by just scaling down. Oh, not like that. Definitely. UVs, we're gonna move that. Got that. This one. This, whoa. This one. That one. Beautiful. What's my distortion? I could live with that. That's not too bad. What I'm going to do with the shell is squeeze it a little bit more. I'm just going off this main one. I know it's going to always look weird when it goes around the edges, but let's count here. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. Correct. So that'll do. I know that there's distortion. Again, I know that there's some stuff going on here, but this isn't really all that. That's not going to be a big deal. Turn that off. Now I got to deal with these like jewel parts. So easy way to get those is to select everything by going into base mode. These, deselect that part. Now we have these selected. Now here's that trick again. I'm gonna go to my edit mesh, extract, and I've got this piece and that piece. This piece, get out of here. Now for this piece, panels, orthographic front, and we're gonna go into UVs, camera based, and good. We've got it. What is our UV looking like? Is it distorting? Probably. Let's just take this shell and we'll just tell it, hey, buddy. Usually there's relax. We're gonna do an unfold. And you know what? I like it. That's pretty good. We got all that. And I'm gonna take this and since we have so much space on our UVs, I'm just gonna duplicate that side. So, all right, object mode, turn off checkers. Let's do duplicate. Don't cut. Axis. Don't merge, obviously. We have all these. Here's this, that. Let me go to shell on this one. Move that over from the other one, and notice I have 2 there. So here's all these. I'm gonna move this up a little. See that? Let's see if they're all on the right scale together by looking at the checkers. No, they're not. I've given diamonds way more down. Go. Now again, I shrunk that down to match this, but since these are smaller areas, maybe giving it just a little bit more scale would be an idea. Now that I have all this, take this, mesh, fine, edit mesh, merge. Now I have all those together. Now, when it merged, it doesn't know. Maya's not smart, just a computer thing. Please don't crash. I'm gonna offend it. Hear me with them. I don't like the fact that when I did that, I still had this hard edge. So I just have to double click around here, double click around here. There you go. I have those. I'm going to mesh display soften edge. And yeehaw. You got that, you got that, that, and that. So now I'm ready. I'm ready to export this and get this going. I'm gonna go edit, delete by type history, clean this thing up, and then save this thing as stored video UVEs. All right, so now that I have that, saving this, Maya, okay, treat me wrong. All right, let's add everything into our low. Off and on. It still doesn't want to go in our low. Buddy. Go. Go. And now I have sword high. So I've already exported sword high. I've worked with that in X normal, and it's ready to go. However, it's my sword low I need to export. I'm gonna take this thing and go to File, Export Selection, and check out the way this is working. Under Assets, I have low res and high res. This is how you stay sane when you're working in baking. So in low res, we're going to give ourselves, I'm going to have that as an OBJ right now. And that I'm going to call sword underscore low, however you want that to be. These are older ones that were down there, but I'm going to leave sword low, hit export. Yes. And now in X normal, we are going to go into our high. That's good. So I've loaded sword high already. In here, sword low is loaded. I right clicked and added mesh. And now under baking, I want a normal map and I want an ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is what's going to give me my dark tone. Right now, it's kind of a dark blue. I'm going to actually go darker on this because it wasn't dark enough. I'll hit OK. And so there's so many different ways that we can push this. I'm going to leave that alone as the default for this, and I'll hit close. I like to use a dark purple or something for metals usually. So that's why I have that right here. Close for this, and then let's talk a little bit about where this is going. I have ... going into, should be going into bakes. So for bakes, I'm going to call this sword, and you don't need to add anything else. What X normal is going to do for you is give normals or occlusion. This is why in Maya, when we set up that rule for it to load texture with the proper raw file data, it's searching for that name, normals. And that's what X normal uses. That's why I use it. Sword is good. Hit save. It'll add the underscore and then the type of normal map or whatever, or type ambient or normal or anything like that. So we're going to use that. And now I have this at 2048 by 2048. That's intense, but that's what I'm going to use for this one. It's on closest ray, closest hit if ray fails. So if it's casting and it can't find anything, it's going to try and find the closest hit. So maybe there's a hole in the mesh or something. It's going to try and find something there. Discarding back faces. Yes, I want that to ignore back faces. That's basically so it's not going to pick up other pieces of geometries. And then the edge padding. Edge padding, when we hit render or generate maps, It's the area around a model. So if I show this right here, this model, right here, this model, actually, you can see it right here. It ends right here, but it goes further than that. That is to allow for bleeding. So if you move around an object and you have areas that just completely drop off to nothingness in the color, you're gonna see as you get closer or further away this really weird little ghosting of edges around the model wherever these shells exist. That's terrible. And the easy way to fix that is um, padding. That's what I have, is padding of 16 pixels. So I'm going to use that. I'm just going to go ahead and hit generate maps. It told me that, hey Josh, what are you doing? You got X normals. That's the software. You have n-gons, and I know where that n-gon is right now. Calm down. X normal hates triangles or n-gons. So that's why we work. Get rid of those. Now let's see if we've fixed. If you can't find that, you can always hit triangulate. Just back up before. So if you couldn't find that, you can go to mesh, triangulate. Don't use this as your final model. Just use this and export that, and then hit undo back to here. That way you don't have to have those triangulations. That's just in case you can't find where that error is. I'm going to file export again. Selection, flow, export, yes. And now with Maya, or X normal, generate. So, okay, here it goes. It's baking. That's looking pretty. Do it again. Bake off my ambient occlusions. You'll notice that it's playing this game of Snake, and that's your CPU threads. The more of those you have, the faster your CPU, faster and more tested. And good. All right, moment of truth here. We're gonna close. Well, we're gonna leave that alone. We're gonna make a new material. So I'm gonna go into that, and go to create materials blend. Go into my color, and for color in here, I'm just gonna use my ambient occlusion because it's gonna help me just see a little bit more definition on that. So I'm going into my assets right now and bakes. Now this isn't where you should have it when you're actually working on the model texture. That should actually be in your source image. But for now, because I'm just testing this, bakes, occlusion. Oh, these nice on it. I'll also name this sword material. Get rid of the fact that this is a PNG and it added a transparency. So just click off that node or delete that. Now the transparency is gone. And then now we need to add our normal map. So we're going to press this button, file, load it up. Here it is. Open it. And so it's here, it's loaded, but what did bump do? Or how did it come into existence? Maya. Well, when I imported it, it went as a bump, so we just need to make sure it's tangent space normals. And now close that, and we'll add your sword material. Apparently I didn't name. Thought I did. There you go. Now grab all of this, right click, assign material to selection, and get a knot in your stomach from the anxiety of maybe looking good, but then pressing this button. and then breathing almost okay, and not, because see right here something weird that out in a second. Let's check out some other spots. For the most part, this rendered really well. There's a couple spots here that are causing some rust, which I'm going to talk about how to deal with in our video. But let's look at the detail on the heart. That's pretty good looking. There's some spots here I'm going to talk about in the next video, how to clean that up. And there's some edge issues along the top, which also we should be able to clean up too. Let's try to, before we end this video, figure out what the heck is going on here. Go to UV editor here. Oh, well, that's not how art works. Let's fix this. Grab all this. So I laid everything out except for one part, and that's why this looks like a demon on. So what we're gonna do is just grab these and then shrink them down, and move those into a spot that makes sense. Now don't rotate it by hand like I just did. That's a chump move. Don't do that. Use your rotate. Press a button. All right. I don't like how I did that. I'm actually gonna undo that. Actually being a chump right there. Now that I got that, I'm gonna move this piece over. Grab this shell and just up. Seems better aligned. Whatever brain I have. I got all that. Good. Now, I need to rebake this file. Export selected. Sword and export. Yes. And X normal. I'm going to pause the video and then unpause it when I'm done. Okay, so the rebake is done, and that's looking a lot better. So that is the low res. And here's the fun part. Turn off hardware texturing. That's the softened model. But because we softened that, we didn't use hardened edges on it. Turn on that, and you can see that looks hardened. That's because of the magic normal map. Now there are a couple things here that are worrying. I know exactly why it's doing it. You'll notice that looks great. I turn on hardware texture. This doesn't. And you can see, what the heck is this? Full time. Do this. Edge mode. Toss it. Play. And now that I did that, I am going to double click on this one and mesh display harden. Actually, you know what? Let's leave this alone. Let's see how that bakes. And you know what? Before I even do anything else, I'm also going to go into here and do multi-cut. I want to add visions there. Hopefully fixing the issue that Sketchfab was having when interpreting that and stretching it. That's good. I'm going to re-export this again, and I'll pause the video and come back from it. Renders. Stored low. Export. Okay. And here is what it looks like right now with that issue. And I'll see you on the other side, so let me pause this. Okay, so we were able to get rid of that seam for the most part on that. Still is a little bit wonky, and this edge right here does look a little bit strange there too. Let's see in Sketchfab what this here to upload. I'm actually going to upload it just like this. I'm going to file, export selection. And I have a folder in here just for export. The reason why is I don't trust mixing all this stuff up. So there's my sword demo. Export that, yes. Also going to save this again. So I'm going to pause this and show you what the upload looks like. Okay, so I have just uploaded it. Let's look what it looks like in 3D. That happened. Definitely had a bad day. Upload. I have to test that again, so I'm gonna pause this. Okay, so this finally uploaded to Sketchfab. I was noticing an error that was happening. It has to do with the fact that I had a Sketchfab file of Sword and I made a new one, and for whatever reason the FBX kept ignore all that. You see, this is better than what it was doing earlier, but it's supposed to be straight and it's still not doing that. So that probably should have just a little bit more divisions in here to line that up. You can see that it kind of goes down and curves again. Again, it's better than how it was, but it still has distortion. Uh, this is something that again can be fixed with more divisions on here. There's some other spots in here I'm not a huge fan of right there. And if we were to look at, let's turn base color to color. It is the normal map that's causing that. That is something that we'll have to figure out how to up. And if we were to look at this, I don't have a specular map on. Look at areas that worked really well. This part right here, whole thing, this hilt here is working well. If we turn down up our normals, we can but little spots like this right here are definitely areas that we're going to talk about that in our how to clean up spots, make this feel even more